Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another Reddit story for you. This one is titled, My Wife Said I'm Not Our Daughter's Father. This is from True Off My Chest. During a huge fight, my wife told me I'm not our daughter's father. My wife and I have a 6-year-old daughter. We've been married for almost 9 years. We got into a really big argument, which isn't unusual for us these days. We've been on the verge of divorce multiple times, but always end up changing our minds. This time, she got so mad that she yelled at the top of her lungs, "She's not even your daughter, and he was a better too." She being our daughter, of course. My wife's facial expression told me she immediately realized what she had said. Then she claimed she was just mad and said it to be mean. It's not true, blah, blah, blah. It made me start to think about when our daughter was conceived. We had been having marital problems even back then. We had actually kind of informally separated for a short time, and I was pretty sure I was done with the whole thing, but we both changed our minds. I can't help but wonder if she was with somebody else during that time. She could have just said what she said to be cruel, but that's a pretty serious thing to say. I hate myself that I'm looking at my daughter now and wondering if features I thought she got from me really aren't for me at all. She looks so much like my wife that it's hard to see much of anyone else in her at all anyway. I love my daughter. I love being a dad, her dad. I feel like I was meant to do it. We have such a great relationship. She loves her mom, but my daughter and I have just a special bond that my wife has said she's jealous of. That might be why she said what she said. I don't know. It wouldn't change how I felt about my daughter, but my wife would definitely no longer be my wife. It scares the shit out of me to think that somebody else could have some sort of parental right to my kid, even though I'm still legally her father, regardless of DNA. It's not like a random guy is going to come along all these years later and try to establish paternity anyway, but it's still unsettling. I'm probably overthinking it, and my wife was most likely just trying to be extra cruel, which is her defense mechanism in arguments, but I just wish I could stop thinking about it. There is an update, but let's talk about this for a sec. I was hoping that OP in here would say it wouldn't change how I feel about my daughter, and I can't put myself in this situation, but I can say for certain, for absolutely certain, this guy is in a deadly toxic relationship. If her defense mechanism is to go for the jugular, is to say the most cruel thing that she can think of every time you guys fight, and you guys are fighting a lot now. I have been in those situations. I have been in those kind of relationships, and I can tell you right now, it needs to end. The relationship. It may not be that you're bad people individually, but you are a toxic combination. She may be completely different with someone else. But there's something about the combination of the two of you. There are those couples where you bring out the worst in each other, not the best. And I'm telling you from experience, it needs to end. And I'm telling you from experience, your child will be happier when you two are removed from this volatile, toxic situation, because the stress and the vibe, the aura in your home right now, your kid can feel. She feels the toxicity in that home right now. She may not realize it, but someday she will. And she will benefit so much from having two separate and happy homes than one toxic, unhappy home. That is tough to see. But if this is the situation you're in, this needs to end. Update. All right. Some of you may have read my original post regarding my wife screaming that I wasn't our daughter's father during a recent argument. I got some great advice plus some crazy advice. My inbox has blown up with people messaging me to offer advice, suggestions, and encouragement. I realized that even though a large part of me really didn't want to know if she was telling the truth, I had to find out for the sake of my daughter. If I wasn't her biological father, there's just too great of a chance that she'd accidentally find out one day via an ancestry test or whatever new technology they have 15 years from now that she might want to do for fun. I wouldn't want her to find out that way. I wouldn't want to find out that way. It was also important to know just to protect us in a legal sense. I had to know just to be prepared. I haven't shared this update here until now because my original post had so much traffic, and who knows who might have been looking at it. I bought an at-home test from the store, and she thinks it was just a COVID test that was done in the mouth. She has had to take COVID tests before, so it wasn't a big deal for her to do it at all. They offer sample process tracking plus guaranteed results online in 2 days once the samples arrive at their lab. Sure enough, the results were available within 48 hours when the samples arrived. She's my daughter. Oh, she's always going to be my daughter, but biologically, she's mine. I don't think I've ever felt so relieved by a test result in my life. Hold up. I have to do this just because I have to do this. OP, you are the father. She's my daughter. She's always going to be my daughter, but biologically, she's mine. I don't think I've ever felt so relieved by a test result in my life. The more I thought about it after sharing my story here, the more I really began to believe that my wife's statement went beyond just trying to hurt me. She was definitely trying to hurt me to the core when she said it, but I started to feel pretty certain that when she had slept with someone else around the time that our daughter was conceived, and she either didn't know who the father really was or had believed for our daughter's entire life that I wasn't her biological father. My wife was not informed that I had done the test. I pretended like I had totally dropped the issue regarding what she had said to me. I confronted her today. Our daughter went to a sleepover, so I knew it was really the only time I'd have any time soon. I definitely didn't want our daughter to be home when I informed my wife about what I had done, so I told her a white lie. I showed her the test box, had my online account pulled up on my phone, but not close enough to her so that she could see the results. I told her that we needed to talk about what she said about me not being our father's daughter, that it really hurt me and I couldn't get over it, and that I'd done a DNA test. Her panic was obvious. At that moment, I knew she hadn't just made the statement to hurt me. There was something behind it. I told her that our daughter wasn't mine and that I wanted to know who the hell she slept with. Did he know that he had a kid? How long had she known about this? And did she know that it was considered paternity fraud? She started crying and was obviously so stunned by all of this that she didn't even ask me to see the actual test results. She should have demanded that because she would have easily been able to tell that I was bluffing. I at least would have gotten satisfaction from scaring her and essentially having proof for myself that she had been with somebody else and at least believed that there was a good chance my daughter wasn't biologically mine. No, she told me who she slept with, begged for my forgiveness, begged me not to tell him about any of it, told me what a great father I am, and that I'm the only man she wants to be the father of our daughter, told me she'd do anything as long as I swore to never tell this other guy the truth. The other guy is somebody who I grew up with and was friends with. I haven't talked to him in years now. At the time that our marriage was on the rocks and our daughter was conceived, I had been hanging out with him and a few other buddies pretty regularly. She supposedly couldn't stand him. He seemed to be acting like a good supportive friend to me during that time. He was a friend, but never the type of guy that I'd want my sister or good female friend who I actually respected to ever hang out with. He was really good looking and he knew it. Cocky, arrogant, but women loved him. He slept with God knows how many women and has contracted a few STDs that I was aware of over the years. After my wife and I found out she was pregnant and our relationship greatly improved for some time, I stopped associating with him. She couldn't stand him and he started to annoy me. He's married now with 2 kids who are younger than my daughter. I've heard from other people that he's cheated on his wife and also developed a drug problem. Although he's tried reaching out, I've kept my distance because I just don't respect the guy and I think he's a scumbag. They had sex a few times after she found out that I went on a date with another woman. She says she was hurt by what I did, and although she hadn't planned to sleep with him, he convinced her to do it. She claims she didn't enjoy it and she felt disgusted about it ever since. She felt pretty sure that he was our daughter's biological father this entire time, but never wanted him involved in our lives or for him to have any rights or access whatsoever to our daughter. She told me she'd do anything, including an amicable divorce, giving me full access to our daughter, letting me keep our house and not asking for any support if I just agree to be our daughter's father and to never say a word to the slimy POS she thought produced our kid. Wow, this is getting way out of hand, isn't it? I told her the truth after that. Thank goodness. I was like, dude, if he keeps this up the entire time, I don't know how I feel about that. I told her the truth after that. I could have continued to hold it over her head, but why? She's mad that I lied to her. I did lie, but she thought she had been lying to me about our daughter's paternity for 6+ years. So I called that even. In the end, she ended up sobbing out of relief for several minutes straight, and we hugged while she cried, but I don't forgive any of what she's done. You hugged? At the end of this? Now I'm going to get a full panel of STI tests next week. I'm terrified to know where his penis has been. I think you would probably know by now if you had one. It's practically been in and out of every hole of our entire town, not to mention the entire college campus where we went to school. I've heard plenty of stories. He's an effing bastard, and I'm sad to say that he was revived after his last supposed overdose last year. Editing to add that yes, my wife and I were informally separated at the time that I went on a date, and she subsequently had sex with this guy. We didn't actually agree to see other people, but I told her I was done with our marriage, and in my mind, it was over. We were still living together and sleeping in the same bed, so the lines were sort of fuzzy. I went on a date, and it was a pretty innocent date. I didn't sleep with the woman or anything like that. My wife found out and went ballistic, screaming, chasing me down at work, calling me cold-hearted and saying, "Who does that?" She was really upset, devastated, begged me to be with her again and not to divorce her. This is a toxic relationship. I go back to that. I go back to this being a super toxic relationship. These are two people that bring out the worst in each other. These are people that should not be together. This is toxic. You guys make each other worse people, and that is not what a marriage or a partnership should be. You guys should make each other better people every day. And it's not going to happen every day, but overall, you guys should inspire each other to want to be better people, to try harder, to do the right thing, especially by each other. This is a toxic relationship that for the benefit of your daughter, I feel like you guys need to end this because this is a toxic environment. And look at it this way. If for no other reason, the example that you are setting for your daughter right now is that this is love. This is what she knows of marriage, and she's going to grow up and end up in the same situation. This is what complacency gets you, ladies and gentlemen. It gets you in a toxic relationship. And I can tell you from experience, ending it is the right decision for your kids.